traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. Now, one thing I wanted to show you, and before I went on break earlier, I wanted to show you guys the picture of gold, because we talked about gold if the Fed didn't if the Fed didn't hike rates, because we were looking at this chart, right? We were looking at this hourly chart, and we're like, man, we got a nice little flag here. So if the Fed doesn't hike rates, gold should rally. I don't know if you guys remember this conversation yesterday morning. We rallied, and you can see this flag pretty much to the T. I mean, we overshot it just a little bit. Now, we also came short of the 618. You got to be careful with gold as well, and this is one of the other things that kind of provoked me into start buying some dollars, is that gold's really starting to head up towards some key resistance. This is a 4-hour chart since January. Okay, you can see it. We're getting up towards we're about 10 points away from really key resistance in gold. So, if gold stalls here and it starts to pull back, then, that's obviously going to provoke some dollar buying too. So I just want you guys to be aware of this, because I saw it this morning and I'm like, oh, hey, I just noticed that flag finished up just today. So, yeah, like I said, keep your eye on gold here, because if gold reverses, and the only reason why I was looking at gold in the first place is because I looked at crude. I saw crude and I'm like, okay, the dollar Canadian's getting crushed, and this is what crude was doing. Crude was doing this. Crude was reversing, and I'm like, okay, crude's falling. The dollar Canadian's getting walloped right now. Why? And then here's crude still kind of pulling back. And then I looked at gold. I looked over at gold, and I'm like, oh, wow, look at gold. Looks like it's going to reverse too. So watch these commodities. They don't look as bullish as they did yesterday. We had come out of the triangle, and, we've hit a 161% extension of that last trend, almost 786 retracement here. And now, crude might be done for now. Gold might be done for now. And if that's the case, then, these commodities start to reverse. You might see a reversal in the dollar. Okay? All right.
Blake.
Kip.
Okay, something happened last time when you went on break. Your screen went to the white deal, and
that's weird.
I had to log out and log back in to actually get it to come back. So let me try something real quick before. Let me just grab the screen and give it back and see if that doesn't clear it up for everybody.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right. Grab it.
And then I'll grab it back.
Yeah.
Citrix had a little brain fart, because it looks like a couple people had issues. So, and then other people were like, it's fine. So, yeah, maybe it was just a little glitch there. Okay. All right. Thanks, Kip. Appreciate that.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, we were just basically talking about there's crude, reversing, this morning, and then also gold. I just wanted to make sure everybody saw that flag pattern in gold that we talked about yesterday. We're like, this is yesterday. Like, if the Fed doesn't hike, gold looks like it can rally, and it extended, and then you have to look at this downtrend line. Is what because I know gold's going to be facing some major resistance coming up, and so this is my whole. It kind of goes along with my whole theory that I think the dollar is going to weaken, for a couple of days, because some adjustments are being made on what the timeline of the hike will be, from maybe 2 this year to maybe just 1. But I think most people came into the Fed meeting yesterday with a very dovish outlook anyway, right? They did. I mean, it was a very dovish outlook anyway. Majority of people didn't expect the Fed to hike. They didn't, and so now we've got we've got some adjustments, but overall, I think the dollar's not going to, it's going to be bought on pullbacks, and that's what we were talking about even yesterday. Even if the dollar comes off, it'll come off for a couple of days. Then you want to be a buyer, and with gold rallying right up into resistance, as long as it doesn't break out, I mean, that it fits the whole narrative as far as I'm concerned. Okay, let's go into now our majors and let's go here. So as I mentioned to you earlier, I already started shorting some euro, and I have entry orders to actually short more euro higher. Uh, but I shorted some at 114.44. That's my first entry. Uh, I think that we still have the ability to move to 114.75, maybe even a 115. But 114.75 now looks like to be pretty key resistance. 114.75. Okay, we are still in a range. Okay, but that's a 618 retracement. That's a 618 retracement, and we did surpass yesterday the 114. We stopped there and then continued on, but that was kind of the, if we can break 114, we're going to 114.75. We went as high as 114.60 this morning, or 59 on the bid, 114.59 and 5/10 of a pip. So we basically went to 114.60. Was that enough? If you look intraday, the relative strength was diverging as we made it up there. You can see spike high, right? RSI's overbought. Next move up, higher high. Relative strength came in lower. So it was a divergent relative strength on the way up. Shouldn't really surprise us too much that it's coming down. I'm wondering now, are we even going to make it? Are we even going to make it? And by the way, the S&P, if you haven't noticed, the S&P is bouncing from here. If you guys are short equities right now, be very, very careful. I'm going to reiterate, this is very critical support. I am expecting a bounce. Maybe not a huge bounce, but from here, maybe about another 10 points or so. Okay, just if you guys are short equities, be careful. Okay, all right. Anyway, going back to the euro dollar. So where's support now? Okay, that's I guess what we need to ask. Support is obviously at 113.90. I would even give it down to 113.75. Okay. Um, let's get rid of this. I don't know where that line came from, but let's just do this. That's about 50 pips from where we're at. So we should find support down there at 113.75. We are still range bound. Okay, let's go look at the cable. So the pound, I put it in an order to short at 156.24. I'm short at 156.24. That was an overnight uh, short. Now, the reason why, just so you all know, let's go over to this 4-hour chart. Okay. Here's this channel. Remember this channel we were following? Here's the daily chart, I guess. Okay. Remember this channel that we were following? Broke down, rallied back. I expected us to overshoot this a little bit to 156 and change. And what we did is we actually went a little bit further than I thought we would go. But the pound is notorious for overshooting anyway, so it shouldn't really surprise us too much. But we rallied, stopped up right around, these resistance levels, but just again, a lot of overshoots here. So I must have got short, did I get short right here? I was at the funeral yesterday. I don't know I don't know when I got in, where I entered it, and I didn't even check my accounts last night. So I don't know if I got short here or this morning. But anyway, because this would have been last night in Asia, I believe. Had to have been, right? I might have got triggered last night. Might have got triggered yesterday afternoon. I literally shut down everything, and I hadn't looked until I got here this morning. But anyway, relative strength hourly, see it diverging. Price going up, relative strength diverging. So Okay, I don't know about that one, but even if we make another stab higher, so we're talking about 156. Well, the 786 comes in at 156.80. I just don't know if we're going to make it all the way up there. I don't know. I do not know. But 156.57. I'll write down 156.80 if we can get there. If we're lucky enough to get there, I think that's probably a good place to be on the short side. Like I said, I'm short right here, but if you can get all the way up there, you know. Now support for today, it's kind of like the euro dollar. Even if we break through this horizontal support here, even if we break through that horizontal support here, I think really the key support is going to be right through here. But that comes in at 155 and a quarter. And that's 100 pips away from where we're currently at. Okay. 155, 25, 25. All right, let's take a look at the Swissy. So the Swissy, uh, somebody, and I haven't seen all your question. I just saw somebody ask, "Hey Blake, what are you gonna, how long will you keep the Swissy?" It's a small enough position where I don't mind holding it. And just so you all know, it's not like my expectations have changed at all. Okay, so let me reiterate. Do I expect us to break through this yellow line? Yes, I do. Okay. Does that mean we can't, dip again back towards 94, 93 cents? We might. That would be a pretty aggressive dip, I think. It's possible, but I do want to add. I don't know if I want to add today or maybe even in the next week, somewhere down here. All right. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out today, because see this previous support here? If we manage to close back above 95, let's call it 95.70. If we manage to close back above 95.70, then that will mean to me that that was just a false breakdown and we stalled at the 50% retracement. Okay. Now, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but if we can bounce back above 95.70 by the end of the day, I might actually add to my position. But it's hard, it's hard to be too aggressive when stocks are coming down the way they're coming down. It's hard to be aggressive with selling Swiss francs. Okay, but we'll be watching this area carefully. The 50% retracements right here, but I'm going to watch the spike lows today, so the lows are important. It's 95.26, so I'm going to say 95.25. Okay, we are still in a range. Resistance now on rallies is going to be very clear. It's up here at 96.65. Okay, 96.65 will be resistance on rallies now. Let's talk about the dollar yen. So dollar yen, obviously with equities as bearish as they've been, the dollar yen has broken, and we have been bearish the dollar yen since we broke down. Okay, I was hoping we'd get a move up to 122 to short it. So I mean, other than the pound yen exposure I have, I really wanted to be short the dollar yen up here. It just, obviously we weren't able to do that. We broke through this support, so now any rally back towards this resistance is going to find sellers. Yeah, it's a garly pattern too. Shoot. It sure is. Uh, Damn it. I'm going to have to tweet that chart. You guys give me a second. Da-da. Oops. Da-da-da. Yeah. I mean, this would be your 786 would be right here, you know. But I mean, that's basically a Garley pattern. So, the dollar yen should bounce from here. And if it bounces from here with equities, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? Okay. Okay. Let me get the chart out real quick. Damn, I'm tired. Whew, man. Okay. Okay. There. That Garley. So that Garley. I mean, that dollar yen looks like it should bounce here. So we should have support of 119 now, because that's 127% extension. It's 119, 118.95. So 118.95, right? Resistance. If we get a bit of a rally, I wouldn't expect too much, but maybe a move back up to 119. Previous support here, so maybe 119.65. You can't expect a whole lot out of this, especially with this trend line right here being broken, that triangle. Okay, so maybe a move back to 1965 would give us a really good place to be on the short side of the dollar yen. 11965. Oops, this is bearish. Sorry. I know we're looking for a bounce right now, but I'm just saying it's bearish. Overall, the trend's bearish. Um, Canadian. So we have Canadian CPI today, and as I have explained to you guys, that the dollar Canadian's really oversold. This dotted line, I started buying it over here. My cost average is 130.47 right now. I'm long a little bit of dollar Canadian, not a huge amount, but I'm starting to inch my way in. You'll notice that we have this 161% extension. This is yesterday's move, right? The sell off to the bounce, getting close to 161% extension. That comes in at 130. So even if, okay, let's say the Canadian CPI numbers come in pretty strong, which I mean they could. They're looking for core CPI at 0.2%, CPI to come in flat, but core to come in 0.2%. Let's say they start to see CPI come in even weaker than that, or stronger than that. Excuse me. Let's say CPI comes in at 0.1% on CPI, and that could potentially drive us down to 130 to hit that 161% extension. But we should be supported at 130. It's a round number. We've fallen very aggressively. We're down 160 pips right now. We could be very well supported at 130, and that could be a great bounce area. Okay. So support 130. It's going to be pretty key support. Resistance on rallies. Well, right now is going to be back at 113. 113.70. It's amazing watching the Canadian yesterday. And just so you all know, I bought the Canadian yesterday after the FOMC. I ended up buying it like my average was right around here. I spun out of it like right around here. So I made like 30 or 40 pips right here. And I was surprised because I was writing my grandfather's eulogy and I wasn't watching. I was surprised it rallied back so aggressively. I bought it at 90 and I sold it at like 20 something. So I mean, I bought it here, sold it here, and I was really surprised to see it all the way up here. Now, obviously, we've given all that back and some today, right? So any rally back to that spike high right there, 130.85. Excuse me. That should be resistance today. And I'm going to put us in a range environment. We're still, I mean, obviously very strong uptrend here, but we're trying to break lower, and we might find some support down here, but we're probably going to be in a range type of environment unless the dollar really takes off now, or crude really falls. We might just be stuck in a range for a while. So I would be looking for more of a range until, like I said, unless the dollar just takes off like a bat out of hell somehow, or crude oil just completely, starts falling aggressively. I can't see us really being more than just in a range at the moment. Okay. All right. So when I get back, we're going to do the Kiwi, the Aussie dollar index. So don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a few moments. Thanks everybody for being here. Yeah, I don't know. Something happened with my audio. Kind of weird. It's working now, obviously. Okay, that was strange. Just making sure my audio doesn't go out again. Okay, well, let's get started. Sorry, I can't figure out what the hell was going on. All right, we got to finish up with the Kiwi, the Aussie, and the dollar index, and anything else that we can see out there. All right, and by the way, I don't know if you guys are watching gold and crude. Can you guys still hear me? Test 1, 2. Can you still hear me? Okay, good. All right. Just making sure. Just making sure. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at I'll real fast, and we'll go look at the Kiwi and the Aussie here in a second. Here's gold. Gold's starting to roll over pretty aggressively. Do you guys see that? We were talking about gold reaching its target, and now it's like, its flag target, if you will. And now it's rolling over. And look at crude. Crude's starting to sell off pretty aggro-like, which is obviously creating a little bit of a bounce in the dollar Canadian as well. Um, anyway, I just noticed it, and I looked over on my other computer, and then also equities are selling off too. Here's the Dow futures, just so you can see them. We're approaching those lows again. Scary, scary how the stock market's not going. How the stock market is not bouncing. Okay, let's go over to, well, I can do the Aussie first since it's right here. Here's the Aussie. We came up and shoot.
Hey, I
I'm
can hear you, Blake.
okay. I'm having a weird. I don't know what's up with Citrix right here, right now. It's like my audio. Like obviously I have internet. I'm looking around. I'm seeing
I
everything
think
move.
I think it's probably one or two of their servers that's causing the problem.
Oh yeah, it might be it. Okay.
Okay.
Mm, thanks, Kip. Okay. All right. So going back to the Aussie. Oops. We had that inverse head and shoulder pattern that's already played out. So let's get rid of this. Last time we had the higher high to low, and then 786 comes in at 73 and a quarter. So we could extend ourselves all the way up to 73 and a quarter. Support now is going to be really interesting at 72. All right. So 72 is support. 73.25 is going to be resistance. And we're in a range. I really think we're more range bound now than anything. All right, let's take a look at the Kiwi. Ron says, I have you on two computers and quality has sound and one does not. Now back on both. That's interesting, Ron. Because you say that, then that suggests to me that Citrix is having like a server issue then. That's exactly what that is. I think Kip's um, uh, prognosis of the situation is probably spot on. Okay. Um, Yeah, so if it depends what server you're on, and Ron happens to have this webinar running on two computers. Why, I have no idea, but that's okay, Ron. Maybe you like me that much that you need to hear me two times. But no, it's interesting because that means he's hitting two different servers, right? Okay. Anyway, so here is the and Ron, you're scaring me by the way. Your 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 willingness to listen to me on two different computers at the same time scares the hell out of me, weirdo. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Okay, so here's a Kiwi. Now the Kiwi, I think it was our very own is our very own um, JAA Rod, Jared from our chat room, that saw this, and he said, "Man, I hope we get up to." He's like, "I hope we get up to 6480." Now that was yesterday. Okay, so check this out. So J- Jared yesterday in our chat room, we were right here, and he goes, "Man, I hope we get up to 6480." Think about where we were at yesterday. Okay. Um, Now this downsloping trend line actually comes in right at 6450, like right where we're at. If you guys want to be on the short side here, probably not a bad idea. But here comes the buts. But I will write down 6470 as resistance, just that's a 50% retracement. Okay. 6470 is going to be resistance for today. Now we have the potential of moving us out of this bearish trend into more of a range. Okay. But it still isn't a bearish trend for now. Support should be back at 64 cents now. Ron says, one is a tablet I carry around and the desktop when I'm in the computer room. Ron, you're still scaring me. Don't tell me you don't take me and the iPad into the bathroom with you, do you? Do you? Okay. I don't want to know. Because I'll be sitting there and I'll hear this. Hey, what was that? I'm sure I can mimic other sounds too, but I'm not going to. All right, all right. Jokes aside, let's go over to the dollar index really quick. So the dollar index is at its 618 retracement. If you guys haven't seen it, boop, low, high, 618, managing to bounce from there. Yes, and I'll tell you what. The euro dollar has had a really good rejection, ever since the dollar index hit there. And the reason why I shorted the euro at 114.44 is because I was looking at the dollar index. We were all in the chat room. I was looking at the dollar index saying, man, that we're at a 618 here. So the low today is going to be important. The low comes in at 94.06, but I'll just write down 94. Okay. Resistance would be at today's high. Today's high is 94.67. So yeah, I'll just write down 94.70. It seems like that's a spike high from over here. You got previous support down here, 94.68. So 94.70 is going to be resistance now. Oh, whoops. I don't want to do that. Yeah. Yeah. So 94.70. And we are range bound. Okay. All right. Man, the cable just ripped back up. Look at this pound. Here's pounds right back up into the 50s. Where the hell did that come from? Like out of nowhere. Hmm. 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 Okay, let's go take a look at the peso. So what the peso's doing. Okay, so the peso, that was yesterday's low right there. We're not even anywhere close to it. It's interesting. See that sell off yesterday? Rallied back? Why? Inquiring minds want to know why. Why didn't the peso sell off in a new lows? You know, if you look at like the Brazilian real, it's still weak today. Interesting. But then if you look at the South African rand's actually holding up pretty well today. I don't know. I'm not too sure what the reasons are, but I guess one should note if you guys are trading the if you're trading the peso, just that the peso is actually holding up pretty well considering. Okay, let's so take a look at the. Here's the Norwegian krona. Yeah, see with crude, here's that support. We've been writing down 807, like we've been writing down 807 literally every day, right, for a long time. We've gone below to 804, but we pop right back up again. And with crude looking weak, the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona is starting to firm up. You know, if you guys trade the Norwegian krona, I would almost think going long and then just putting your stops below the support here with crude oil rolling back over. Just just a thought. Um, Swedish krona, still support down here. Hmm. Nothing super exciting. Nothing really super exciting. But what's I think what we need to keep an eye on right now is the cables bounce back really nice, which I don't like since I shorted some at 56.24. But I don't know why we rallied back like this and the euro didn't. Look at that. Look at that bounce back in the cable. Pretty strong for I don't know what reason, right? Okay. All right, let me see if I can take some questions this morning.